You could be listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
You may not find us on your TV.
Listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
OTR. 27 a week by megahertz.
That's interesting.
The Old Tube Radio Network.
All right, I hear an echo. So where's that coming from? Yeah, hear that? That's coming from the other channel. So that means that somewhere.
Do you have YouTube going in the background?
You know what I have is the. Let's turn Larry's audio down. All right. Okay, that sounds better. That sounds a lot better. Maybe we'll do a take two without the double. It's sort of double your pleasure here. That's what they do on CB Radio. You got to say everything twice. They do that down on the Super Bowl. Here we go again.
You may not find us on your TV because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by OTR. Brought to you by 27.085 megahertz. Brought to you by RADI. The Old Tube Radio Network.
All right, that seems to be a little bit better. Let's go to the control room here. I think that's good. The Old Tube Radio Network with just one audio feed. That's what happens when you have. Where's the audio board? You have many choices from which to choose, and only one of them might be correct. But despite the technical issues, we will be talking to and checking in, talking about your glow-in-the-dark radios. You remember them, the Class D 11-meter Citizen Band radio service from 1958 when the FCC banged the gavel and said, yes, indeed, we will have this special class of two-way radio for the citizens. Hooray! And everybody else, and going through about 1978 or so when they stopped making the tube radios, we will be chatting with some of the equipment that was in that particular period, unless, of course, we get some of the earlier 11-meter stuff. We'll take anything tonight. Of course, we will check in with our shortwave listeners who are over the air here at 27085. That's Channel 11 in Central California. Check your conditions. I did not hear any skip at all today. I don't know. JT, are you out there? JT is out there. We'll have to check in with him and see what was going on in ORN tonight, if they had any DX check-ins. How many of you came over from the old radio network tonight from ORN? Yeah, a lot of you. So you have dinner out of the Wasama swamps, and then you have dessert in Fresno and fall asleep. How else can you spend a Saturday? The frequency is quiet. I'm not sure if the Bulldogs are playing here locally tonight, but we will do our best to get everybody checked in and fill as many radios as possible. And with that break, OTR, let's take in any early check-ins. I'm checking. They're telling me to make sure that the video is on, make sure everything is straight and ready to go. Do not add pictures to radio. Let's take early check-ins. I think I heard 24. Is that correct? Over?
Over 24. Checking in.
All right, let me find the tube radio list is on the top. I'm going to find the radio check-in list for SWL 24. And let's see, I think I mistakenly said this was not the 8-week, but this is the 8-week period. We will have our SWL 00. It's going one more week here until next week. So, Joseph, we've got you checked in. Thanks.
Hey, sir.
Always got to see where we are at the paperwork. Let me get 24 updated. Who also checked in, SWL 61, Dean Copenhagen was in earlier, so we get him checked in. Any other stations that need to get checked in so they can do what they're supposed to be doing on a Saturday evening?
Good evening there, Dennis. How you doing there, brother? 53, Bel Air the Legend, checking in early.
All right, no problem. We'll get you in. SWL 53, The Legend. As always, on a Saturday evening, the Old Tube Radio Network, you are checked in. Over.
Thank you very much.
Check in 650, Dennis.
650. We will get 650 as well. Also, if there's anybody that needs to stop by and say hello radio, I will look at the chat window that's up on the YouTube side. There's also a comment section at oldtuberadio.net where we have streaming audio there as well. And those of you who might be trying, Sacramento Dan says he got the radios fired up and he's listening on the antenna. So we would have to, he's out in the Sacramento area, as a couple of our stations are. So indeed, we would have to have that tropo ducting short skip. And if I look, do I have the map up here tonight? If I have the DX map, let's bring it up on the video. There is the DX map showing a couple of hits, not in California. And let's see what's going on in 28 megahertz. There's some activity, but it's all, looks like it's out to Hawaii and to South America. Not much going on the West Coast. We'll see if and when anything changes here on OTR. Any other check-ins before we begin? All right, let's get started here. Our double zero. I think I told you last time, Joe, that you only had no weeks left. This is it. You have 1 week left as the double zero. So I know you're there, and we'll get you checked in. Over.
00 checking in, Dennis.
All right, double zero. Back in the early days, double zero was reserved for the FCC commissioner. Wink, wink, nod, nod, and occasionally we would have said commissioner du jour stop by and give us the what for and what was happening on 11 meters. But I like it this way a lot better. You're sounding good, and we'll get you coming up.
Thank you, Dennis.
Also, the cosmic check-in for SWL number 1. SWL number 2, Mr. OBP, one of the gentlemen that, as we say, years ago, like 37 years ago, decided we've got to have a spot for the tube radios to gather and the operators to gather and check in and not bother anybody. And if people want to stop by and say hello and find out more about radios, that's what we will do. And that's what we are still doing, even if we are not, what did OBP used to say, 9 pounds in good modulation out at Chestnut and Herndon. I see you there, Kevin, and you are checked in. Kevin is over on the YouTube chat, so you want to say hello to Oscar Bravo Papa and say hello radio, please do so. SWL3, I'll get a check-in for Rob, and that will take us up to, and we'll have some announcements here tonight. I know coming up in a couple of weeks, First Amateur Radio Club is having the annual swap meet. Let's see if SWL7 is there.
SWL7 checking in.
Okay, I was thinking I might need to proxy you in if it was poker night, but either it was and it ended early, or it's not tonight.
Not tonight.
All right, good. We will have you along for the Old Tube Radio ride. Thanks. Over to our shortwave listeners up in Idaho, and one of those is SWL10 Chrissy, and I know Chrissy is on frequency listening. Yeah, saying hello, everyone. We say hello right back. Dwayne and Chrissy are very good about listening in and grabbing that one little opening that will happen from Central California to Idaho, so we will be listening for that. Over to SWL11, and that is Cornbread, who may or may not be checking in at any particular moment. And someone asking if Espresso Trucking Company is here again tonight. I have not been informed that they are here. They stopped by last night. Do we have another program before Halloween? I think we do. So no doubt, I will make sure that they are here for that. I think it's the day before Halloween. So they will definitely come on back. They stopped by last week. They had to go on some tour out Highway 41, but hopefully will be chiming in again for us next week. This is the month of October, so we'll be checking in a few, or at least one, of the spooky magic eye tubes. There is Chrissy checking in. Let me put the X in the square. Thank you. And someone's saying, I was going to check in Dapper Dan. I don't think he's there, but he usually reminds me to turn on the pumpkin, and someone else says tonight that the pumpkin is not on. So let me see if I know how to do that. Let me see if they'll... Will you let me touch the pumpkin? I'm checking with... Okay, we got to do... there's a switch, and I'm wired into the audio here. So, all right, we got to turn that on. Let's see if there's a... all right.
My name's Jabber Jet.
All right.
But you
Turn down the audio. All right. Sorry about that. We have procured the pumpkin. All right. That's one thing you should never show your backside on the video, but when the pumpkin calls, that's what we do. Pumpkin is glowing. Let's go to SWL 13. That should be, Mike, he will be here later, I bet. Let's see if we can hear Sangertown, SWL 14.
SWL 14 checking in, and it is pretty noisy out here. Got a lot of static tonight.
All right, I thought it was just me. My static level is up. I'm thinking I have my 10 o'clock static early, but I think you are correct. There's just more static. There's less other things. There's less skip, but just more static going on. And even Larry mentioned on the let me bring the video up. Even Larry mentioned on his feed that there was some static going on. But I'm going to put that up here on the video. See if we can see the static going on. No, I guess not. There was a little carrier going on. But we'll have, just a reminder, we'll have the SDR video, so if you want to check your frequency and some audio, we will be able to do that as well. Sounding good, Sean. Anyway, I do hear you. Over.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hope everybody's having a good night out there. Thanks for doing the PR.
All right, we'll see what we can do. See if we can get some people checking in through the static tonight. A lot of people checking in on the various forms here tonight. Larry, Alpha Kilo Zero Zulu. That's a good call when you're shouting out to those DX places or doing the contest. Is joining us from I think Iowa tonight. Also joining us is, as always, Charlie, who is helping us out. And you have, what do you have for me here? This is the water. Don't shake the water unless the top is on, right? And why is that cloudy? Where did that come from? I don't know. Very good. Okay, they're saying it's got the electrolytes already in it, right? I'm supposed to be drinking more electrolytes, and they are making sure that I don't keel over before the net is over tonight. Thank you for the water. And we've got you checked in as always. Let's go to SWL 17. SWL 18. I will get Mikey checked in from Facebook. SWL 19 out there in Derby, New York. Chet is working the cue card tonight. And what does it say? Okay, he says that ETC is probably not coming in tonight. Last week we had the limo and we had all that on there, but they will be back next week, right? Coming up before Halloween is over, which is good. All right, and he's saying, fix your microphone. All right. I've got a pop screen and a filter on the microphone here, but I had to close the window. The wind is picked up. We are in the little weather dip. We went down 20 degrees here in Fresno, believe it or not. So 19 is in. Let's go to SWL 20.
Number 20 here. Please check in number 29 and 54 also, and I'll have an item of interest.
items of interest are a good thing. That is the reason we are here, to get as many items of interest in the tube radio mode as possible. We've got you checked in. So thanks for that. All right, you're sounding good. JT, the guy that runs Old Radio Night and Tonight, you know, I had it on, but I didn't really run over to check in. And I'm seeing if the video actually showed up, because I saw it earlier, and then it was there, and then it went away, like it was processing. So let me rescan it. Yeah, because I think you were on the Courier tonight. Yeah. So let's pick up some audio from, if we can, from Old Radio Night. I think what happens is it's a long program. It takes a while for the YouTube.
I hear they got a good chicken sandwich. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
We're not the only program that talks about chicken. Or chicken breast, for that matter. All right, there's the Courier. If you're watching the video, that is what was on Old Radio Night. The super nice looking Courier, along with the D&A Hawk reverse preamp Old Radio Night. I know a lot of you were there jumping over here tonight. Thanks for joining us. And I can hear it was quiet. It sounds like it was no skip over in your area as well. Very interesting. And so taking a good rest, and thanks for joining us. JT's in the Wasama, out there in the Wasama swamp, so not a lot of activity on the band tonight. Speaking of activity, SWL 23, Mr. 23 Skidoo, it looks like he's in the air chair tonight with the history Rolodex ready to go, possibly answering our questions about what the heck happened back in the day. What's going on inside those radios? Thanks for joining us. Hopefully, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you are in the middle of some espionage thing and are like Maxwell Smart, you know, pulling up your shoe two-way radio to tune in the Old Tube Radio tonight. You never know. SWL 24, Joseph checked in early. Let's go to SWL 25. And I will give Jerry a check-in. I did hear him on the Wednesday night net that I was actually able to make. He might be out doing a musical thing that he often does with his band. And I don't know which one I would promo, but I don't know which one to promo, because he's in, I think he's got a couple of them. Let's go to SWL 27. One of our Sacramento stations, Sacramento Dan is listening, and Gary is out there as well, no doubt, listening in from beautiful Sacramento. Thanks for joining us. Zoltar says a lot of green in the future. Maybe green radios. Well, thank you, Zoltar. There will probably be some spooky magic eyes, no doubt, and a lot of the radios want to be big, but you know what? Sometimes the small radios do just as well. So we will see what's tonight. So thank you, Gary and Zoltar. We've got an SWL check-in for Mr. Loner at 29. Dwayne is at the ready at the Browning or the Robin to jump in, and that DX. Thank you, Dwayne, for listening in. Let's try SWL 31. SWL 32. Uncle Hairball, who was on ORN tonight, says, "Don't dally." He says, "I won't be able to stay awake if you don't get to 59." We're going through here. SWL 33, the gang here at the Old Tube Radio Network. SWL 34. It's Jimmy and Captain Chaos. And Jimmy is working with me. He's always got some cool stuff up his sleeve. It was a busy week Jim at the radio station. Ed was working extra. I did not get to work on our project that I wanted to check out, but it has possibilities. Where's the train whistle? See if I can do a nice train whistle here tonight. And Jimmy, who runs like every cool CB radio Facebook page, including the CB Radio Lounge and our very own Old Tube CB Radio network, along with others you probably know them, maybe the CB Radio Lounge or wherever. Get your latest updates right there. So let's try the train whistle, and welcome Jimmy and Captain Cass. Got to get to. If you don't get the dual tone in there, now that is a very tiny little train going around the track. Anyway, you are looking good. Let's see if, and I'm updating my page here for SWL 35. That is Mr. Bill out there in Cheyenne, Wyoming, from none other than, of course, Red Monkey Communications. And he is right there. I had to update the page. Sometimes it doesn't show that Bill is in there. So, man, we're getting a cold spell here, so no doubt you guys are going to be getting some cold weather. I don't know what's your altitude. Or maybe get some snow. Maybe get your first snow of the season. Yeah, he says Cheyenne is cool. It's cool, and it's cool. Both ways. Thanks, Mr. Bill. Let's go to SWL 36. SWL 37.
SWL 37 here, Dennis, and good evening.
Good evening. Hello, radio. You are sounding good. Thanks for jumping into the air chair.
You betcha.
And I will, I know many of you are checking in at various items, so when my eyes are diverted to the proper place, I will see who is out and doing where. Let's go to SWL 38. Sam in Byron, always listening in to see if we're going to do this short hop in California. Over to SWL 39. And Larry says, yeah, Jimmy is a legend. I agree. I don't know how he's just one person and he does all the things that he does. Let's go to SWL 40. He might be back down in the basement, but Larry does have the SDR up and running. How do you get there? That is a good question. Let me see if I can get there. On the YouTube, Old Tube Radio Network SDR View CB Channel 11 from Larry 785. And that's our local stream tonight, so you'll be able to listen to the audio as it's being heard. And also check out your signal if you're in the area to see what's going on with that. So that's working good tonight. Let's see if SWL 41, Road Dog 507, right there checking in from the Orange Ulster County React, Hudson Valley, New York, saying good evening, everyone. And 507, I've got you checked in. Thanks for joining us tonight in the Old Tube Radio Network. SWL 42, got a proxy for 42.
Thank you.
And a check-in for 43, SWL 44. SWL 45, hello, Paul, over.
I think it's working. 45.
Yes, sir, it's working. I know the band, the channel, the frequency is a bit just staticky QRN tonight, but I hear you well. Thanks for stopping by.
Very strange. You got a weird noise, but it was like a whistling type noise on you, but you're the only one. I don't know why. It's by my throw. Back to you.
Well, you know, I am a registered mud duck on many frequencies, this being one of them. So you're doing good to receive the likes of me. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
And a reminder, you are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network here on CB Channel 11, 27085. We are transmitting from Central California. The bands locally are good. The DX is not so great on the sporadic E short hop skip tonight. This is something that happens each Saturday, most Saturdays of the year from the middle 1980s. Can you believe it? Where we all get together to check in, talk about, and try and make sure that our old tube radios are working. Right now we're in the Direct-to-Net CB SWL roll call, saying hello to everybody. You might be joining us. You don't have to be on any paper. You don't have to have any numbers. There's no secret handshake. There's no special hat to wear. As long as you're here, we are glad that you are enjoying what's going on. And hopefully, maybe you do something like this where you are. Get on the air radio night. That would be pretty cool. We are looking for SWL 46. SWL 47.
Well, good evening, OTR and everyone else from the radio patio. I can't believe I'm saying this after such a long time not being out here. The weather is absolutely phenomenal. The mercury thermometer out here said it's 65 degrees, and it's absolutely spectacular. So from the radio patio, SWL 47.
Indeed, it's almost sweater weather, I think, out there. In fact, I had the window open. You can see. Let me back. The wind is blowing through the trees. There was so much wind coming through. It was affecting my effects on the condenser microphone. So I'm not quite enjoying the breeze like you are, but you're sounding good.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be back here where I kind of started participating in OTR. It brings back old fond memories. No, I'm not on the mag mount antenna on top of the AC unit, but everything else is just about the same.
Good deal. Thanks for joining us. If you find yourself in front of a tube radio, you know where to go before we sign out of here at 10 o'clock or so. Thanks. Let's try SWL 48. Hey, KP, Sammy is in, and you're sounding good here in Central Fresno. Thanks for joining us. We got the X in the square over. Hey, good to hear Sammy in there. Let's go to SWL 49. Shortwave listener 49. SWL 50.
Oh, yeah, we are here and checking in.
Hey, and sounding good doing it like you always are. Monkey's uncle way up there, beaconing down. Thanks for checking in. And 23 Skidoo says that I can be an honorary majestic mud duck. I know on 40 meters they've given me some honorary duck thing going on, but here on 11 meters you really have to earn the mud duck, which I often do. I could be the honorary majestic mud duck of Monterey Bay. That's like saying I'm the micro-milliwatted mismodulated midtown mud duck here in Fresno. The majestic mud duck of Monterey Bay comes with bragging rights and a free small fry at McDonald's. What would I say? I'd say, hey, let's do it. Once a mud duck, always a mud duck. Thanks. SWL out in Sanger, SWL 51.
SWL 51 checking in Sanger.
All right, now there is a non-mud duck station doing a good job from Sanger. Thank you, Dave. SWL, oh, you know what? And I think this is, let's try out my first Echo Link tonight. Let me fire up the dual link. Yeah, fire up the dual link for Echo Link, and this will be SWL 52 KB6GFD.
Yeah, very good, Dennis. From behind the golden microphone, K6, well, wrong band, SWL 52.
I know, I do the same thing. I'm trying to think, okay, which microphone, which radio, which band, and what time. But anyway, you're sounding good. The audio's good, and I know the Echo link is working now. We've got a couple other stations we'll be chatting with on Echolink tonight. So thanks for getting it warmed up. KB6 GFD.
Yes, Echolink people will be over here on the side having a party.
You know, I guess they could do that. I guess they could do that. That's when Net Control turns the audio down a little bit. Anyway, sounding good. Thanks for checking in.
K6 US1.
SWL 53. That's Bob and Mr. Belair checked in earlier. Heading over to page. What is it? Page 3. So we're getting close. Let me just take one moment to say hello to those who are jumping in on the video side. We're coming up to you, Mike in New York. Private Thor is joining us tonight. John Farrar is also listening in tonight. Thank you. Uncle Hairball, yeah, coming to you. Dan, Sacramento, Dan. We're going to check in with Dan on Echolink in just a minute. Adolph Manson, I think from ORN here to the Old Tube Radio Network. Foxman 362, where it's 53 degrees, precipitation, 2% humidity. Or is that 2%? If there's precipitation, I would think it would be a lot more humidity, but you never know what's happening out there in Rockwood, Tennessee, on a Saturday evening just before midnight. 968 Horsefly saying hello, OTR, and we are saying hello back. Thanks for joining us here in the Central Cali of California. Pittsburgh Estate Sales saying good evening, OTR. Fresno State won big before anyone asks. Okay, well, I don't have to ask then. It's nice that we are doing something. We're winning a game. So I think we won last week. Pull it out against San Jose. We'll be checking in with Tony in South Carolina. It's on the Echolink. I think Tony is out there, so we'll be talking with him. Want to say hello. Yeah, we said hello to Larry, the Alpha Kilo Zero Zula. That rolls off the tongue pretty good, by the way. And others who, the Mud Bucket, UDX 483 Mud Bucket is joining. Do not try and read and talk at the same time. Unless you are a professional. We've got a check-in for SWL 54. SWL 55. SWL 56.
Good evening, Dennis and the Net. 56, just for kicks.
All right, I need a few kicks to keep me going. Oh, you know what? Let me check the Radio DX Finder here tonight and see what is going on. This is the map of tells all. And yes, indeed. Well, why am I not up? Oh, yeah, yes, I am. And the Running Man #1 is up as well. The Walking Man, Running Man is out tonight. So all is well in the world of APRS. Thank you, Phil. Got to keep track of these stations. Sometimes they're a little hard to find. That's why we use that. Let's go to, and I hope he's still there. Brown Dog Audio, Central Kentucky, where it's getting late. But did you make it? Yes, he's there, checking in. Started moving equipment into the new shop. Very excited to get it all set up. Yes, indeed. Can't wait to post pics to the Facebook page. I hope you do, or I'll be watching when you do. Saying hello, radio. 73s to the Old Tube Radio Gang. That is Brown Dog Audio. And Central Kentucky, working on the Shack, working on his updated Voodoo audio, whatever he's got there. Sounding good. Let's go to SWL 57. No, we just did 57. Let's go to SWL 50. Let me check in 57. I think that's what happened. I didn't get you checked in officially. SWL 58. I'll put a proxy in for Jeremy. SWL 59. Hey, we made it up to Uncle Hairball. Hello, radio. Checking in and And checking in, and what is that? Oh, they say, well, thank you. They say I've got some popcorn. I know I don't want to, I'm not supposed to eat popcorn when I'm on the air because I know what happens. Where's this from? If you want popcorn, this is the place to come. Albert and the gang usually have something going. Popcorn 913 usually has something going, and there's a popcorn machine down in the green room. That's a fancy, it's a really fancy bag. All right. One kernel. That's going to mess me up all evening. All right. It's good. And it smells good, too. All right, thanks, guys. Wherever it, maybe he ran around. Say, Chet ran around to each person and stuffed the bag for me. Well, that's good. I like that. now I'm going to have popcorn teeth for the rest of the night. Okay, Uncle Hairball is in. Let's go to the guy that got us started off, SWL60.
Thank you much. Thank you much here, Dennis. Let me cut this down a little bit. We're kind of setting up the phone here. SWL60 checking in, and Dennis, we've thanks a lot there for picking us there for the 00. SWL60 checking in.
All right, we got you checked in. Stay well, and thanks for joining us tonight on OTR. And Foxman 362 says kettle popcorn is better. Well, maybe they're going to use the pumpkin back here for a kettle after Halloween. All right, we are looking for SWL61. Dino came by earlier when the band was clear, and he was available. We got him checked in. Let's go way out of state for SWL62. Is King Duckford on tonight? I don't know. I don't think he was on ORN. Out of North Georgia, SWL 63. Shortwave listener 64. And 64 is in, joining us tonight, Adolph Manson. Charlie Foxtrot Whiskey. Sounding good. And let me put the, let me get the X, let me get the numbers to light up here by kicking in the right thing here. Oops. 164 up on the thing. Thanks. SWL 65. Radio's coming up in a few minutes, so don't go away. SWL 66. And if you got a tube radio, now is the time to get it to warm up. SWL 67. SWL 68. Michael, way over there in New York, out there in two land. I've got the X in the square for you. And I like that 59 thing. We should try and get the pumpkin to move lips. Somebody mentioned that last week. It looked like it was mimicking what I was doing. I can't really see it. Or can I see it live to kind of, I should go the other way, mimic the pumpkin. And talking about Parks on the air, Summits on the air. This is actually TOTA. Tonight you are doing TOTA. That's tubes on the air. So join us. Get your do your tube activation here on the TOTA frequency. SWL 69. Kenny in Tulsa. Kenny, I'm checking you in. I know if you are not here with us live tonight, you will be watching the replay. And there you go, checked in as always. Yeah, we're gonna have our tube activations coming up, so get a few points for the tube stations coming up. Let's go to SWL 70. SWL 71, Stan, who is probably over on my other page. They're right there checking in. I'm sure Stan, if he hasn't run POTA or SOTA, is probably contacted a few. Do hear him out there. And Stan is in near Dallas, Georgia. So I'm sure there's going to be some some great parks out that way. We have quite a few here in the Central Valley, and summits too. We have some great summits out in the Sierras, and I will have to check, see if we ever get any activations on. Some of those are pretty remote. You'd have to. I watched some of the videos of the guys. They're really good at packing in the little antennas and climbing up to the middle of nowhere and making some contacts on those summits. Pretty cool. Let's go to SWL 72. SWL 73. Uncle Hairball, that's a different kind of TOTA activation. SWL 74, we'll get a proxy check-in for Miss Jilly. SWL 75. SWL 77.
Well, SWL 77 checking in, waving a hand to all the listeners in 73s.
All right, thanks for joining us here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Boy, I've got so many screens. I wanted to put up something here. Bring that down. Yeah, the big signal. I was looking at the signal coming from that station, looking super good, super nice audio, and clean as a whistle. That's the way we like it here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Roll call, Tube Radio's coming up. Over to Wild Wildemar, SWL 78. Let me get back to the SWL chart here, and I know Richard is joining us. Or it's nice and cool in Wild Wildemar. I know you gave me the temperature there. 60, wow, with 84% humidity. I don't know if you guys, if the storm is tropical, then Southern California gets all the stuff first. If it's not, then it comes in from the Northern Bay Area and we get it. But right now it's just been kind of a nice intro into, oh, it's supposed to be autumn. So let's do that, at least for a day. SWL 79.
79, checking in.
Hey, live and direct to the X's in the square. Thanks. Mr. DC, I'm going to go to another, well, I've got a chance here. I want to go to and pick up another Facebook contact. Sacramento Dan, we were talking about Sacramento and all things audio, and I know Dan has got the 11-meter radio set up. So let's go over, find out what's happening up on 11 meters in Sacramento. KA6RCZ, KB6GFD, over. And we'll pick up Dan from Echolink.
Yeah, hello there, Dennis, KA6RCZ here. I have a new phone since last time I checked in, and I don't know if the audio level is okay. So can you give me that report?
Yeah, audio report. The audio level, the audio fidelity is good. The level could be bumped up just a notch. It sounds good because I can adjust the outgoing level, but I was looking at the incoming audio meter, and you're not quite pushing into the little yellow point. So, like I said, a little bit would probably help, but it's not bad over.
Okay, I pushed it from -6 to 0 in the settings on the app on the phone, and hopefully that's a little better. Anyway, I sent you a picture of the Cobra 25 that I found in my garage. Just got a power cable for it, and it's dark in the picture, but I do have the 11-meter, channel 11 listening here up on the SDR, and there's no activity that I can hear in Sacramento.
Yeah, it is clear and nothing going on except the local stuff all over tonight. I don't see any items on the DX map. There may be some local activity, but, depending on the antenna you have. All right, well, thanks for checking. We'll take a look at the picture. The audio sounds good where it is at, so no problem there. Dan, one of the, what do they call them, 7199 audio punks joining us here on 11 Meter tonight. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for the report from Sacramento. We can only hope that we'll get some of those weird conditions floating around. We got a lot of stations here in Northern and Central California that are ready to listen in and maybe try and take a transmission. So thanks for joining us on Echolink, KB6GFD.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dennis. And K6RCZ is clear.
All right, so got stations listening in. If we ever get some conditions, we should get some DX reports, and I'll see how the Cobra looks. That's why we're here. You never know when you might have an old 60s or 70s tube-style radio sitting around, or, you know, Uncle Fred has got something just hands to you, and you can get up on the air, and that's why we're here, to check it out, plug it in, see if the microphone works. And like Dan, you might find any type of a CB radio, where it's 23 channels or 40 channels, and just put it on your radio shelf. Just because it's cool, maybe it doesn't work, but it should fit right in somewhere, and you just never know. You might hear OTR beaconing in on a Saturday evening. Let's go to SWL 80. And someone said to give a proxy check for 80, which I will do. And is the link up and ready? Yes, it is. All right, so it is that time of the evening where we find out what has been happening all week, where we want to check into what's going on with Bob and Steve.
27.085 OTR channel 11.
Whoopee. All right, what is happening? What's been going on? Sometimes all these things happen and I have no idea. Episode 138 here on the Old Tube Radio Network for October 22nd, 2022. Bob and Steve saying, "Go Bulldogs 41-9." Over the New Mexico Lobos. The Jingle Singers are getting OTR ready for Halloween, as we have been doing. We got the pumpkin up and running, and there were little Halloween candies and things showing up. They have decorated the green room lounge, orange crepe paper, and lots of Halloween pics. I saw that. Very nice. You can put your face in the jack-o'-lantern and get your picture taken. Pumpkins are everywhere. I'm always, around here, I'm always careful where I'm careful where I put my face, but this sounds like a safe venue, so I say go for it. The Jingle Singers decorated the big white limo, and they'll be going to a number of nursing homes, passing out jack-o'-lanterns filled with Halloween candy, and just general good cheer, which we like to pass along. So I love when we've got the limo out and running and doing good stuff, like it always does. Thanks. Bob knows how to find these things. He really does. So thanks for that. At the bar tonight from Pine Key, Florida, the No Name Pub on Watson Boulevard. Money is stapled on the walls and the ceiling. You certainly could do that here in Fresno. Money everywhere. It's said about $100,000 worth. Wow, where's this? The No Name Pub on Watson Boulevard from Pine Key, Florida. $100,000 stapled to the wall. What do we have here? What do we have stapled to the wall? We have receipts. We have the receipts. So we probably have about $100,000 of stuff we've spent in decorating the green room from the Costco card. That's what we have. It's just the receipts stapled up around here. And he even says he saw a Costco card on the ceiling. I don't know. I don't think it was this one. Out by the pavilion tonight, Parmesan wings, the best pizza in the world, Cobb chicken salad, veggies, and all filling from the No Name Pub. Have to get out there if you're in Florida. Join us after the net. And of course, if you're doing the fish thing and you only have fish food, we'll tell you, don't forget to feed the fish. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Steve, on the Old Tube Radio Network. Back in a moment.
085 OTR channel 11.
All right, I am back. Let's go back to the radio room here. Page 4 on, if you're playing the home game, page 4 on directed net roll call. We will get through this so our radios who are waiting tonight, although I'm not sure. It is so quiet. It is so quiet. Everybody might be taking a nap. I'm trying to talk like the pumpkin. There it is. Out here tonight. They're talking about the radio. Oh, well, I can't say, or can I say what radio what I'm using tonight, but the meter, let me go to the S meter here. For those watching the video, and that's, we are looking at SWR right now. That is power out. So there you go. Where's the power meter? Yeah, there you go. Look at that. 5 watts. Hello. It might swing up a little bit. Anyway, that's all I'll say. That's the meter. That's the power meter from the radio. Shh. All right, but you got to have certain radios that perform, because the main thing is not me. The main thing is the audio coming in. So I got to have a radio that really has a good receiver that will put the audio out to the internet. So that's what we are doing here. And the IC7851 is out of the camera shot. I wish. Out of the camera shot is, in the camera shot, there should be the FT102 somewhere. The Orban, I don't know. We'll see. We'll get some. If we do the decorating right, I should have more radios here. All right, I want to stop talking. We want to check in. SWL81. SWL82.
82, checking in from the ditch banks of Biola. Good evening.
Good evening. Sounding big and good audio here into the net. Just a reminder that Ron is net control for the Friday night net that happens at 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, called the Ditch Banks Sideband Net on channel 36 lower. And I was late last night, Ron. I'm assuming, was it like this? It was all local, no skip?
Before the net, we had a little bit of skip coming in. So, anyway, during the net, I don't think anybody broke in there. Maybe 1 or 2, but not very heavy. So, anyway, it was a good night. Real good night.
All right. A good night was had by all, and just like it is here. So, join us if the skip is rolling in. You want to listen to 36 lower on Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So that'll be later, of course. Earlier, depending where you're at. Ron will check in after the net on the visitors side. Thank you.
And thank you for doing this here old tube radio net. Everybody, 7-3s. Have a good one.
All right. And I agree. Foxman 362 giving you a very good thumbs up on your audio there tonight, Ron, and it does sound good. We are going to SWL 83. SWL 84. I will get Jerry checked in and the gang, Tandy Girl, Snowy Owl, and the Mountain Maid. And Jerry was on his old tube radio today on the Jefferson Noontime Net and sounding good. Running one of the Swan radios, I do believe he was on, 7204. Let's go to SWL 89. SWL 90. Got a check-in for 90, a proxy check-in for 90. Let's go to a shortwave listener 91. Oh, there, Felix is right there, checking in. We've got everything. I need to find a picture of the Felix mobile. I have not seen the yellow bug around town. Sometimes it just pops up. But I've got a good picture of the Felix mobile that drives around here in Fresno, spreading joy and good tidings all around, as does SWL 91 himself, I'm sure, where he's at. Let's go to SWL 92. Shortwave listener 93, South Sea in southern New Jersey. SWL 95. Shortwave listener 96 out in Kerman.
Shortwave listener 96. Dennis, checking in. Good to hear you, Dennis. Sounding good this evening.
All right, so well, thank you. And likewise, let's see, we checked in Dennis earlier. Dennis is talking to Dennis, so that's 3 of us. You're sounding in. Thanks for being patient. You know we will get to 96 at some point before it's Sunday. So looking good, and we got you checked in.
So far, so good.
I'm thinking I might actually have the day off tomorrow. We will see. I don't want to jinx it just yet. Let's go to SWL 97. Jim out there in Boston somewhere. SWL 98. Tracy typically joins us on the YouTube side. I will get Tracy checked in because I think he did stop by on the sideband last night. So I know we're still always a little bit weak between the hill and where Tracy is, but we'll get you checked in. Foxman 362 says it's already Sunday. Yeah, it's turned 9 o'clock here, so a lot of people going into Sunday. Or even like our station, our faithful station up there, way over there near Nelson, where it's, 5 o'clock in the morning, 54 degrees. The sun coming up over Briarfield, over Burnley, over Paddingham, Langbo, Sykes, Bentham, where the shadows are getting shorter, or is it longer? Anyway, the shadows are happening. Anyway, thanks for joining us. And the conditions are good. You know, go to 15 or 20 meters in the morning. Like I mentioned last week, the Golf Zeros and the Golf Ones, the stations they're looking for the West Coast. They're hearing us out here, so stuff is happening. Okay, we are looking for, where did I go? SWL, thanks to Tracy for checking in. SWL 99, that's Randy. I'll get Randy a proxy check, and sometimes he stops by the Echo Link, and he's got a system that he's definitely we're definitely going to hear him direct when Radio Randy gets things fired up. All right, going back to the Echo Link, and we'll see what's happening in McClellanville, South Carolina. And Tony joining us on Echo Link. Let me get this set up and turn it over to Tony, KB6GFD.
Good evening, Dennis. Please check in SWL 100, 84 BAO, back to net control.
And then net control right back to you. Let's see, have I done the 100 thing? Yeah, it is right there. Showing up good, SWL 100. Thanks for joining us on the Old Tube Radio Network. Sounding good on Echolink. KB6GFD. All right, South Carolina in on the Echolink. Let's go to Arkansas, SWL 102. John is right there. I just have to look in the right spot. And I will find you. Thanks for checking in. 102, John looking good. Let's go to shortwave listener 103. And that is John in Missouri. Shortwave listener 109 up in Albury. Out in Millerton, maybe in the lake, SWL 110. Over to SWL 111. That is Bob out in Reedley, and he checked in earlier saying he can barely hear himself on the stream. So at least we was able to hear coming in. But like I said, I had a lot of static tonight, so Bob's checked in earlier. I bet if I went to the early replay, he would be on there. Let's go to SWL 113. Right here in Fresno, SWL 114.
114, checking in.
Mr. Rickshaw, Wayne, you are sounding good. Looks like 8 in a row, as always, on the check-in list. Thanks for joining us. All
right, thank you for the check-in.
Over to Fairfax, Virginia, SWL 128. I see John is checking in about an hour or so ago from Virginia. Thanks for joining us tonight in the Old Tube Radio Network. Shortwave listener 131. SWL 133. In Northwest Fresno, Dave is with us tonight saying hello, radio. Got you, Dave. We've got you checked in. I also see SWL 13. Michael, Mr. Cobra, is joining us on at oldtuberadio.net. Thanks, Mike. I got you checked in. Let's stay in Fresno with shortwave listener 135.
Okay, if this thing is still going to be working. Sierra Whiskey Lima 135 checking in.
Copy. This is Oscar Tango Romeo Control saying you're sounding good. We've got the X and the square over.
Okay, it's starting to act a little funny. Is it still working okay?
Sounds good. No problem.
Okay, groovy. See you later.
All right, I think Cliff is trying out his tube radio tonight, so we will be excited to hear what that is. Because typically he finds the radios that have the glow in the dark, or I should say they're glow in the dark, but they have the magic eye tube. So I'm not sure what that one is. We will find out in moments. Let's head over to, we got a proxy check-in for 137, which takes us up the hill a piece to the guy that that we all wake up to on Friday morning, if we wake up, on the early risers net, SWL 145.
Hello, radio. Good evening, Dennis. I did some rearranging in the shack yesterday. I hope we're still getting out.
Yeah, I hear you. The signal is a little weaker, but I think that's something I've done, but I hear you just fine. I'm going to get you checked in over.
All right, thank you, Dennis. Appreciate you doing the show.
All right, 145, Tony, up in Course Gold. SWL 147, I didn't see, and that did not mean that he wasn't there, but I might have missed it. I didn't see if Neil had a sign-in earlier. I'll give him a proxy check-in, and then I will go back and check the liner notes, as we say, and see if he has an official check-in. He may have had a musical thing going on tonight. We will see. It was still time to get checked in, although it's pretty late. Where he is out. Let's go over to shortwave listener 188.
Good evening time, Dennis. Good evening time to all SWLs. 188 checking in.
188, Bobby Snowby, sounding good. I wasn't on the radio at all today because I was busy, but if you were around the radio, were there some skip conditions? I know you kind of create your own, but I'm just wondering if today was typical or was a little bit light?
Conditions were in and out, a little bit light. I did make a few contacts, but I didn't have much time to sit by the radio as well.
All right, so, I think Sunspot numbers, we'll check them out, but that's okay. We can hear everybody locally, and that's what counts. Thanks for jumping in.
10-4, good evening time.
Heading up to Course Gold, a station that is often on the DX map. Course Gold is one of those places that's if you're in the right spot, everybody can hear you. If you're not in the right spot, maybe only a few people will hear you, but Jim's got a good beacon down here into the Central Valley, SWL 195. All right, we're checking in and sounding good. Probably head out to the front porch and say hello, radio. Hope it is not too breezy up there for you, but it's nice down here in the Midtown central part. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, it's beautiful up here.
Yeah, always beautiful. But I bet it actually smells good. like down here. I had the window open before, and I'm thinking, what are they doing? Are they burning rubber with the limousine tires or something? Well, that's sort of cleared up. Go up to Coarse Gold and smell the pine trees and the manzanita. Let's check out Mr. Shockwave, SWL 226. And any stations that I missed or would like to check in now before we head over to the tube radios. All right, and as always, we will be able to take check-ins as we listen to your radios. That's coming up. I got to change a few things, re-up the stream, and we will be right back on your old Tube Radio Network.
There we go.
And I think we are ready for Tube Radios.
You may not find us on your TV, because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by
OTR.
Brought to you by
27.085 megahertz.
Brought to you by RADI.
The Old Tube Radio Network.
Thank you, Stan Freeberg, the Billy May Orchestra, X4000 and the announcers area, and all of you for the Old Tube Radio. The Old Tube Radio Network here since, I don't know, somewhere around 1986. Brought to you by you for your Tube Radios. Before we get started, as always, I am going to populate the pocket protector with tonight's Tube Radio pen sponsor, and this is from Budco Metronics Incorporated, wholesale electronic parts and components at 601 West 11th Street in Indianapolis, Indiana, 46202. Where's the less than stellar? That's they really less than stellar close-up cam, and we will show you the. Where is it? Budco Metronics Incorporated. Nice little, these pens are from 40, 50 years ago. are so well made. I've got pens that came out of Office Depot that are, falling apart in 3 weeks, and these things are nice solid metal and really good plastic. And don't ask me if they write. I'm not going to expect the ink to be getting. We're going to fire up the Johnson Messenger 223 in the background, and then we're going to say, I've got the list, I've signed in, and we are listening for radio number 1.
135, 135.
20. All right, I've got 135. Step up into the air chair, Cliff, but don't take a transmission just yet. And then I think I heard, were you in there, Paul, 45?
Correct, I'm here.
All right, good audio on that radio. You'll be radio number 2 after Cliff, and I definitely heard Sean, 14, you will be radio number 3, and was there another station that I didn't call that has a radio to check in?
20.
And 20. All right, Harvey, you will be radio number 4 coming up, so you got more time to warm up things. I think that gets all the stations. In that little tube radio, that TOTA pileup, but I'm sure there will be more, and we have plenty of space. Here's the list. I actually write things down, so we got a lot of room for radios tonight, and that is why we are here every Saturday to get as many as possible, to get as many people as possible to jump in and fire up their tube radios, just like you would if you were driving to the corner hamburger stand and you jumped in the 59 Chrysler Imperial, and just take it out once a week. Blow the dust out of the exhaust. Open the doors gently. That's what we're doing here. Where are we? We are looking for the Green Arrow. Hello, Cliff. Over.
Hello, Dennis. Yes, it's the Green Arrow SWL 135. Checking in a radio from Young Spring and Wire Corporation in beautiful downtown Burbank, California. Who was the guy who said that down there? This is the Gonset G11. That's Gonset G as in George, dash 11. Gonset G11. It has 10 tubes in this tiny little radio. It's the smallest tube CB I've got, and they crammed 10 tubes into this thing, one of which is the 6M E5, that's 6 Mike dash Echo 5 Magic Eye Tube, winking and blinking and glowing spookily out here in the darkness of the CB cabana. Back to you.
Back to me in the studio, not in the CB cabana. And when you said Young Spring and Wire Company, I knew where to go in the Rolodex, because I also have a couple of Gonset radios, not 11 meter style, but Faust Gonset and W6VR. I don't know the call, but an amateur radio operator and technician that got the Gonset radios. I actually have in our items of interest here, and let me put it full screen, the radio on which you're talking. You sent us a picture, and it's a perfect match for Halloween. The Citizens Communicator, the Gonset G11. Gonset jumped into the Class D 11-meter citizen radio service right at the beginning. They were making all sorts of cool radios for 6 meters and 2 meters and 10 meters and little items that would take your car radio and convert it into a receiver, and mobile radios were part of it, part of the radio mounted in the trunk, and the operating part would extend into the passenger driver's side. And here is their version called the G11. And we're going to hear it yet again. Great audio. Looks good on the meter. Looks good on the S meter for forward movement. And tell us more about it. We see the Magic Eye Tube up in the left-hand side. There's also another light down on the other side. I don't know what's going on with that. You can tell us about that. Not sure if you're using the microphonium, what we call the ice cream cone style of static, but over to you.
As pictured, when I first got this radio happening, it has the original astatic Gonset microphone. It's got the Gonset meatball in the middle there, which just did not produce enough audio to really drive the radio. I still have the microphone, but that's not what we're using. This is a Turner Plus 2 amplified desktop type microphone, which is now in about the 1 o'clock position. I hope it's making enough audio to do this. And I with all that nonsense I just spewed out there, I didn't get the full title of this radio. Actually, it's the Gonset G11 Citizens Communicator. Wanted to get that out there, and for the next week there's more Magic Eyes as we get closer to. But this is the first of the round Magic Eyes. And 6ME5. Why do these things all have to have different Magic Eye tubes? They're all different. They're all strange, but they're all interesting. And you want to know the other light below where it says Gonset? That's just a pilot light. That's the radio is turned on kind of light. And did I mention it is one channel only? Crystal controlled. There are two crystals, one for transmit, one for receive, and that's it. There's a squelch knob and an on-off volume knob. Couldn't be simpler. Back to you.
Couldn't be simpler, and that is what, in 1959, when this radio came out, it's in Sam's CB1. It is in the first Sam's photo fax book. Gonset was one of the first people back in late 58, 59 that jumped into the Citizens radio, and simple was the word, because that's what Citizen Band was. It wasn't supposed to be a technical hobby. It wasn't supposed to be a hobby at all. It was, you didn't have to take a test for your license. It was communications from a license to licensed units. So you would get a license, and then you would get the Citizen Communicator, and you would get another one, and it would be based to Unit 1, and you might be talking husband to wife or a business and saying, we need a loaf of bread on the way home. That is what CB was originally supposed to be. It wasn't, talk to your neighbors, make it hobby communications, what they used to call idle chit-chat or anything like that. So that's why the radios were plug and play. You needed one channel to get to where you wanted to go, and you turn it on and you flip the mic. A nice audio, getting some good comments from the SWLs here saying that the audio sounds pretty good with that microphonium. Now I see, let's see, it says 115 volt AC, so it's very possible that this radio did not go mobile, but Gonset made a lot of mobile radios, and I'm assuming that you would probably buy this at a typical electronics store of the day. I don't know if they had any We Just Sell CB radio places back in 1959, but certainly for the local electronics store that was getting into CB radio, this is something you would find. Price $150. So the prices, as they went through 59, 60, came down a little bit for the radios that didn't have all channels and S meters. There were a lot of radios like this that did that, so still sounds good. We put you up on the Larry meter, and boy, nice. Once you key in, the frequency holds perfectly. You've got good 6K audio. It's about 700, 600 cycles low, but sounds good. Let's go back to you for a transmission.
Okay, yeah, according to my meter, what's it say? 0844, 0845, somewhere right around there. Yeah, I'd love to see it on the Larry meter. That's what we really should call that thing, huh? It's the Larry meter. I like to see just how far off it is. I know it's a bit low, but as long as you're hearing me and can understand me, hopefully that's good enough to get it checked in. What do you think?
I think it is exactly that. I put up the Larry meter right now, so if you watch the replay, I think it's my audio coming, and you will see your key up. I wanted to let you see the key up as it gets into the frequency, and then it's very stable. And it's really got a nice, there it is, keys up, not too bad, and it's got a nice steady carrier and good, looks like 6K audio off of each side of the carrier. Doing a good job. All right, back to you for another transmission before we go to Radio 2. And let me put the radio back up. But what I wanted to show was, on the, if I can find it here. Yeah, it's there somewhere. On your Magic Eye tube, is that the one, let's see, you said it's a 6ME5, so is it indicating your audio and not, well, I guess it wouldn't be signal strength, but some of them used to be signal strength. I'm assuming that's for the audio and that it is what we call the Pac-Man style, so you look at the top and the two left-right sides need to come together to show you 100%?
Yeah, that is exactly it. This is your spooky Halloween kind of standard Magic Eye. It's a little smaller than like your 6E5s and 6U5s and stuff like that. And yes, you're correct. It's a modulation output indicator. I think much cooler and groovier than your standard modulation light. Modulation lights are cool, don't get me wrong, but this is kind of like the ultimate modulation light. And, yeah, on a lot of receivers, I have several receivers that use that kind of eye tube as a, that's your receive strength, signal strength indicator on those. But for all my CBs that have Magic Eyes, it's always a modulation output. I don't know why they didn't make it work with both. That might have been cool, but that's the way they did it. And back to you.
All right, super simple, and as time wore on, they started having little tricks about, well, I know we're only one channel, and you have to take the radio part to change the crystals. They started, doing selectable channels or giving you the crystal socket on the front of the radio with a selectable to, select the external, and you could plug in crystals that way and change channels. So pretty cool. Tony says, once upon a time, before phase lock loop, there was crystal control. And Pittsburgh Estate Sales, good comment about the early days. There were calling frequencies, mobile to mobile, base to mobile channels. I know, 12 and 13. And then there was call channels. And one of them was channel 11. Why a lot of the radios that were sold that only had one channel actually came with channel 11. You can see that 27085 is stamped on the front of that. And the main reason why this frequency, 27085 channel 11, was chosen for the meeting place for old tube OTR, because we knew a lot of radios, if they were coming off the shelf, would at least have channel 11 as the calling frequency. So it worked out quite well. Radio number 1, the Gonset G11. And I don't have my info up for Faust Gonset. I think it was W6VR. We could read a little bit about that, but I will do my homework, and maybe we can talk about that later or in future episodes. Back to you for another transmission. Good choice. We've got a couple other radios standing by. Paul, you will be next, so stand by, but let's go back to the green arrow on the Gonset Citizens Communicator G11 from 1959.
Well, thanks for letting me check it in. You mentioned something I forgot about, that, rubber stamped on the front of this particular radio. I don't know if you can see it in my picture very clearly, but it says channel 8, 08, and then frequency in megacycles 27085. Evidently, 27085 in Canada was channel 8. And then they finally changed that over. I'm not sure when or why, but it was rubber stamped right on here that this was going to be a channel 11 radio, and I always thought that was kind of cool. So again, thanks for letting me check it in. I usually only check this in about once a year, and it's a fun little radio, and it seems to be working pretty well today. So. With that, that'll do it for me for tonight, and we will catch you next week.
Absolutely. A great way to start. The pumpkin is illuminated and happy. Dwayne saying, and I think I remember this. We talked about this. This is maybe when you watch certain episodes of the Andy Griffith Show when they're in the police station, this radio or something like it is on the shelf somewhere. Radio number 1, the Gonset G11. Thank you, Cliff, for that. Now, let's go to calling Paul, calling North Fork, the sound of OTR. Over.
Yeah, I'd like to check in. This is not here, one of my favorites. My General Radio Telephone Super MC12.
Ooh, one of our favorites as well because it's super rare. I don't know if this ever got an FCC go-ahead because of certain things they did, but there's a lot of people out there that are looking for this very radio to add to their General Radio Telephone collection. Let's go back to you for a transmission on the General Radio Telephone Super MC12. Over.
Okay, I want to get the thing out about once a year. There's not many parts available for this. Solar Skyhawk Antenna Company, they produced the MC12 at that time. They didn't use the famous ECL802 like the MC11A, but used a much larger, more powerful audio tube, the 6C-10. The radio had what they call the super squelch. That was new to the Generals. The super squelch is either RF section, one half of the RF tube. They give you squelch and also RF gain or squelch control. And boy, I mean, that works neat. Really works neat on this thing. Too bad they lost that one in that particular. Anyway, the radio looks like the MC11A and uses the rest of the controls. But the MC11A, just a single channel, vehicle, etc. And a few other things I'll talk to you later about.
All right, we've got a very good shot. This one actually says it's from your collection. I don't know how many you have. It may be the one that you're talking on or not. Really looks like the rack handles on that are larger or extended from the Super MC11A. Maybe that's a change they made, but probably a similar chassis. Like you said, the MC12 was upgraded with a larger and powerful final audio tube, which is probably why the FCC drugged their feet on type accepting it. I know they tried to put in the Civil Air Patrol frequencies, and I think this is also a 24 channel, which I think is one reason they said, well, this is why we can have, the radio is capable of 15 or 25 watts DC input because it's set up for the Civil Air Patrol, but you have to modify the back with that special plug. Probably the FCC wasn't buying that. 1972-73, a rough year for the American manufacturers as the imports were already taking a big foothold on the market. And a lot of technicians, like you said, finding these cool new ways to do squelches and items of interest, but making the radios more expensive to do that, and it was hard to compete with the imports coming in. But boy, did they sound good and still work well. Here in the 21st Century Radio 2 General Radio Telephone from downtown, beautiful downtown Burbank, and I think that was Gary Owens of KMPC Radio 710, radio fame down in Southern California, of course, the announcer for Lafayette. Back to you, Paul, for another transmission. And as always, thanks for taking the time to wire something up in the extensive collection over there. Over.
Yeah, I appreciate you listening to us. I'll tell you that. This one didn't get checked to that much. I'm a little leery on using it very often. So, anyway, another thing, I'm using a General CM3 ceramic microphone on it. And the Skyhawk Antenna Company manufactured an MC12 was put out of business by the FCC as the MC12 was not able to type accept this radio. So that blew the whole thing. The FCC took care of it. All right, that's about it. The FCC last several, I think it's the last several radio telephone CB made. That's back to you.
Right. Well, I think the FCC didn't want anybody to have any fun, and they were already pretty much PO'd for what happened to their 1958-59 dream of citizen radio, and in 1972, when it was pretty much out of control and about ready to break out even more with another million or so applicants to CB radios, and they just kind of had to throw up their hands and say, I don't know, we'll just charge more for the licenses we'll find a few people, and it'll be what it is, and like it is today. Radio number 2, General Radio Telephone, the Super MC12, a very rare radio, and we're always glad when it shows up here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you for checking it in.
All right, my noise level is not too bad. We'll see how things are going in Sangertown, and I hope that Sean is still with us and can still hear. What am I? I'm an official mud duck here in central Fresno. Hello, 14, over. All right, I hear you. I'm going to find the Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV. I'm having in some... It's interesting. Almost sounds like we're having some fading going on. I wonder if we're getting some skywave or something happening. Some, what do we call it, in sideband talk, some QSB on the signal here on AM. Not quite selective fading. So take a transmission on the Mark IV, and I'll see if I can bring up a picture as well. Over. All right, take a transmission again. I've got another antenna I'm going to try. I think it's not going to work as well, but I'm just curious if it's directional. So back to you. All right, yeah, I switched. I've got it's actually a 10-meter vertical, but it's a different position on the roof. You completely go away with that. I tried the horizontal wire, and I'm sure you're vertically polarized. So back to the very low Starduster, pulling you out from Sangertown. The Golden Eagle Mark IV, and here's another sort of story like what happened with General Radio Telephone in 1972, where the Super MC12 was sort of the last hurrah as they were changing the company and doing things. The Mark IV is the similar story with Browning in, I'm going to say, in 1977 or 78. Browning actually closed at that time, and there was a version of the Eagle that was built after Browning officially closed. But whether or not some of them came off the Browning line or not, but they were sold by Browning. So this is Browning's last hurrah for a tube radio. And I don't think they had any problems with FCC type acceptance on this one. And they did sell quite a few, but it's a lot of them are not still around, and Sean has one of them. It's radio number 3 on the Old Tube Radio Network. Back to you, sir, for another transmission. And as always, I wish the conditions were a little bit better, but you're making it through, and I'm glad there isn't any skip land covering you up. You sound good. Over. I agree. All the radios sound good, and when they're tube style, and that's why we are here. We try to make them. I always say I try and make them sound good. They sound good. What I try to do is with the audio system here and passing it out to the listeners is trying not to add anything that would make them sound good, because they always sound good. And Tony, I agree. It's time for some type of directional antenna to point towards the stations so that we can hear them better when it's possible. Radio number 3, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV. And a station who is familiar with that radio is hopefully going to join us right now. In fact, he might have even worked on that radio with a little tuning and tweaking himself. Hello, Harvey.
Hello, Dennis.
All right, you are going to be our radio number 4 if indeed you have aforementioned said radio. Over.
Oh, I was got to come back in the room here. This is number 20 with a Helicrafter CB1 11-tube radio. That's right, 11-tube. And even though it's first one, CB1, it's a big radio. It's got the Magic Eye 65 tube, and this son of a gun really works. And it's got the original little plastic Helicrafter mic.
All right, I'm going to say, first I said you're kidding, and then I said you're kidding, and then you said it's got the plastic mic which we're showing. And you can't possibly be using that microphone right now, over.
I can possibly be using it. It is sitting on a shelf while I put the bar down on the radio. It just sits there and look at it and talk to it. Oh, Mr. Halligan. Anyway, from 1959.
Excellent. Wait, I don't coordinate these things, but sometimes it just happens. Now, here's another 1959 radio. Here's another radio where a company like Gonset, who is an amateur radio, and Helicrafters, who was definitely an amateur radio, they did televisions, they had great receivers, they had transmitters, decided, secretly, not blowing their trumpet to the amateur radio world, like, we're going to get into this, the FCC just took 11 meters away from you guys, and we're going to make a radio for it, which they did. And they used some of their old chassis. That looks like it might be off of one of their Kiers. And they made a Citizens band radio, one channel, push to talk. Look at that. There is one knob. There is one knob on that radio, and the Magic Eye tube, which a lot of people at home were used to seeing on their RCA or their Zenith big wooden console radios as the tuning eye, or maybe on reel-to-reel tape recorders as the audio thing. So this is a familiar tube to a lot of people who are not two-way radio enthusiasts, so it was a good fit for something like this. Anyway, I am totally blown away by the audio on that, but I know we have had a couple on here before, and they always sound really good. Not flat topping at all. I will put up the Larry cam on your next transmission. It'll take a while, but we'll see where you are on frequency and how it keys up and where the audio is. Back to you on the Helicrafter, their first 11-meter Class D radio, the CB1. Over.
Break OTR.
Now let them go ahead.
Yeah, the break OTR. Thanks for standing by there. Go ahead and we'll get you checked in.
131.
All right, to shortwave listener 131, I will get you official here on the top of the page and sounding good from Clovis Town. Over.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Harvey. Back to the radio of the moment right here, and we'll get the picture back up. The Helicrafters. Oh, I've got to, you know what? I've got to put the picture up. You won't see it. Anyway, take a transmission.
Okay. Well, it's a little low on frequency. Excuse me for coughing. Well, looks to be about 84, 6 or 7 or somewhere around that. The cabinet in the 40s and 50s, they had a style of a cabinet they used for a speaker, various speakers. Didn't look exactly like this, but the shape was the same. Then after this came out, and I guess they started making other CB radios. Besides this, they used this cabinet on a couple of speakers in the early 60s. Anyway, you mentioned about the Andy Griffith Show. In a couple of episodes, in the back right corner, they had what appears to be, I think, an Allied model transmitter, and on top of it was an ICO Citizens Band radio. And I believe it was an early 700 series where they made kits and, you build it or we build it for you type kits. 777 was one model. And then they had, which took a mic and heat up, I believe, on the front. And then the earlier model had kind of a push bar, or not a push bar, but a handle that you rock up or down, something like that. Anyway, in some episodes, that's in the upper right-hand corner.
Okay, got it. I've got the Larry cam up, and yeah, you are about 84.1. The carrier, and I didn't see the key up to see what happens, but the carrier is pretty solid once it hangs in there, and the audio looking pretty good. 1, 2, like 5K wide or so, and that could be, I just wonder if you had a put a studio quality microphone on that, what it would do. But it's working quite well. I've also got another photo that if I can find, I will pop up as well. Okay, here it is. I'm going to go to this for those watching. There is another Hallicrafters. That is their variable frequency oscillator. Well, what was there? Just a second until I went to anything else. But notice that cabinet style that was just there from some of their other amateur radio gear. Definitely matches, let me bring it up again, definitely matches their CB radio. And even the same knobs. This was the late 50s, early 60s. And so that's what Hallicrafters did. They purposed probably one of their old cabinets and one of their old knobs and was able to bring up, there it is, a radio, 5 watts DC input to make the FCC happy and save a little money. I'll figure out what these sold for if I got a sold thing. Somebody mentioned it was not mobile. Yeah, it was 115 volt AC, but yeah, that little push to talk thing would have been very interesting running in your Buick. Over.
Roger, 159.95 is what it sold for. I do have an amplified B104 that's purposed for the World Radio Lab ECBK that will plug in the back of this. But it's getting late, so I'm not going to go grab it. I'll have this in the house now. It was in storage. So now it's in the house, maybe I'll bring it out in future episodes. Also, you may have to proxy me in next week.
Okay, will do. And as always, we are streaming. We'll be streaming at oldtuberadio.net. Yeah, well, that's a good thing. When you can't get to your radio, oldtuberadio.net will show up on your Universal Media Net web stream, and you will be able to hear the Maloof Lewis audio of the tube radios. Thank you, Tony. TOTA at its best. The tubes on the air, 11 tubes. This was the first of the Hallicrafters Little Phone series. Some of you might remember when we got to 1963, there was the CB3A, the CB3 Little Phone. Those had 7 tubes. This radio has 11 tubes. So somewhere in that 4 years, they figured out like madman months to get rid of some of the tubes. One of the things they did, of course, this probably has a rectifier tube, maybe. Yeah, it's got a... and it's got the 6E. The 6E5 is the modulator, the modulation indicator. The rectifier, the 5Y3GT. So there's 2 tubes, and somehow they got rid of 2 more tubes to make the CB3A. Great audio, push to talk. This was back in 1959. It is also in Sam's PhotoFax CB1. This is Citizens Band Radio. to be simple, to be communications between base and mobile, or mobile to mobile, or base to base for communications of businesses or licenses, units of the same license. But boy, did it take a left turn in 1959 and a half. Thanks, Harvey. You are sounding good on the CB1, the first of the little phones. Over.
Roger, and it's not little. Okay, back with some others.
All right, back with some others. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network here on a Saturday evening. My name is Dennis. The Jingle Singers will let us know what exactly the heck is going on here.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all and
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And we are listening for radio number 5. This is OTR. Who is the station? Over.
14, if you can hear me.
Yeah, 1-4. I just have to be listening, and I can hear you just fine. 14, take a transmission. Over.
Yeah, I'd like to check in my Cobra Cam 88. Hopefully it's making the trip north from Golden Eagle.
It is making it just as well. As a matter of fact, we'll put up the Cam 88. I'm getting the fading. You know what? I'm looking at the wind outside, and I'm thinking, I'm also looking at my SWR. And I bet I have, oh yeah, see, it's going all over the place. I bet I have some wind issues on the Stardust. You know, those things just kind of sit on the poles. The mounting system on those is not great. Or it could be better. Or maybe the guy that mounted it didn't know what he was doing. But I bet that's it. I bet I'm getting a little bit of wind, just enough to move things around and change the signal or the reception, and perhaps same on your end. I'm not sure what antenna you have. You have spot number 5 on the Cobra Cam 88. Take a transmission. Over.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. It possibly could be wind. Might be my issue out here because it comes in really harsh static and then it kind of fades out and I get you real nice and clear. But yeah, the Cobra Cam 88, and I'm looking forward to hearing the replay to hear the difference between the two radios.
Yeah, well, this definitely has a different audio flavor. Of course, Browning really pushes the high mids and the high frequencies for that communication punch. Cobra has a more full fidelity audio. Let me see if I can bring up the Larry Cam. I think you are probably going to be there if I go to it, and we'll check your, there it is. There's your key up. You are a little bit high on frequency. It keys in almost right on frequency. You can see the audio is at least 6K wide, and I don't think you're doing anything special with the audio, but you've got good voice peaks down in the 400 or 500 cycle range and some good high frequencies as well. I don't know if I'd put it up on when you had the Browning up, but that's over at Larry's QTH, and there I come in. So anyway, yeah, if you watch the replay, you will see that. I'll get the S meter on for you as well. Back to you for a transmission. That will help a lot. You know, the line of sight and just getting a little bit more over the horizon will help. And of course, if I could do a similar thing, we would be, what do they say, wall to wall and treetop tall, Q5 and all that good stuff. Picture the Cobra Cam 88. I will ask you, there are 2 flavors that we know of. One that has the modulation light Well, they both have a modulation light, but one will have I think it's the range boost underneath the light. So which one do you have? Over.
Yeah, I have the Dynaboost underneath the light, and the Dynaboost is on.
Okay, I'm going to say we won't do a demonstration, but I would say the Dynaboost being on is a good thing for the fact that you are in my noise level, but the audio is coming through. I think you will be impressed with what you hear, some good low frequency tones and not dropping out at all. The radio is really good, stable on the transmitter when it keys in, so no problem at all. Cobra Cam 88. Let's see if I've got any info on the Rolodex here tonight about the Cam 88. Just B&K Dynascan. Not even a price, not even a year, but it's doing good. Over.
Yeah, it would probably be a ghost for Halloween if I turned on off the Dynaboost. I don't think it would help me at all. My signal is pretty weak when I watch the video. But yeah, anyhow, Dennis, thank you. I appreciate it. That's it. The radio's fine.
Yeah, typically with the Dynaboost, they could be adjusted for a non-amplified microphone, or if it's adjusted for an amplified microphone, then when you turn it off, it gets really low. One of our SWLs wanting to know, and you may have, if you told me I didn't write it down, what microphonium are you using with the Cobra? Over. The stock B&K microphone. All right, so the range boost is set up correctly. Some reports of very clear audio. So amazing. What if you ever get into the audio rabbit hole? That radio with a little compression and a little equalization, the Cobra Cam 88s have some really great audio, as demonstrated by you with just the standard microphonium. Radio 5, the Cobra Cam 88 from B&K Dynascan, sounding good on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for bringing it by. Doing some counting and amounting, we are getting close to bewitching time. There is plenty going on here at Old Tube Radio Net Control, including the Jingle Singers with this.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
Listening for radio number 6. All right, we have 6 and we have 7. So 6000, step up to the air chair, and Harvey, you will be radio number 7. So if number 7 is listening, make sure it's something that would be approved for a 7 check-in. But first, as we approach the 10 o'clock hour here in Central California, let's grab and over and see what Mr. Hustler has for us. Over.
Thank you much, Dennis. I'd like to check in from World Radio Labs, my Hustler base.
I was going to guess that it might be the Hustler. If you were to choose one radio to check in tonight or more, the Hustler would certainly be on the list. I'm going to go directly to that picture of the Hustler radio, if I can get it centered up there, because this is a fine-looking specimen of Class D 11-meter radio styling. Nice blue. This is down the way. This is not a 1959 radio, but is also produced by World Radio Labs, another manufacturer of amateur radio. Leo Meyerson from World Radio Labs, Globe Electronics, figuring out how to get into the Class D market and doing some, what we talked about, where you're still only doing 8 channels, but the external crystal socket is provided in the front. So you don't have to pull the case off and try and move the crystals around. It's got the S meter and the all tunable receive, all 23 channels, not using crystals. It keeps the cost down, but at least you can tune in and SWL. Back to you.
Yeah, correct, Dennis, and doggone it, the extra crystal, I'm not sure if it's 20.
I'd have to ask Harvey. But since 11 is already in the radio, I am on a desk mic, a Turner Plus 3. It seems to be compatible with this little radio. I do have the original hand mic, the Pretty Blue mic, and all the hardware that goes with the radio. We have, I think, 7 tubes in this one. 7 tubes, 8 channels.
7 tubes. I think when you come down to it, 7 tubes was minimum you could get away with on these radios. So 7 to 13, especially if it was on sideband. I'm going to switch. Hopefully, I do this. I'm going to switch from the radio over to the Larry Cam. And okay, there you are. There you are, keying up. The radio keys up a little bit low. It gets a big swing, and it starts getting on. It moves a little bit up, as you can see. It changes frequency slightly as it warms up, talking on it. So for those of you, if you listen to Skipland DX and you hear the radios, you know, when there's 900 people on the same channel, but you hear that one, you hear that. That is that radio right there. So you know when a tube radio is keying up during Skipland, because you will hear it. So that's the person you want to talk to. That's the station you want to pull out and say, hey, dude, I love your radio. And we love that one here. Back to you.
Thank you much, Dennis. Doggone it. Yeah, the little red light is glowing, letting me know that she's operating. Okay, Dennis, I'll get on out of here. It's about 3/4 the size of a loaf of bread. Interesting little radio, for sure. Thanks a lot, Dennis.
It is interesting, and it always generates a lot of good comments here on OTR for those who are watching and listening from World Radio Labs. A very rare item of interest, and again, we have one right here to share with you on the Old Tube Radio Network. Leo Meyerson and the gang doing their Class D, We Think It'll Sell, and it did. We've got one right here from the Hustler on the Hustler. OTR, let's see. Oh, we're going over to Radio 7. I was going to say I'm counting and amounting, but I'm not doing that because we got to go over to Radio 7. Hello, Harvey.
Hello, Dennis. It is meeting number 20 on a Sonar FS3023.
Okay, nice audio. It was doing a little scratchy thing right there at the beginning, but it fixed itself. I'm going to the Rolodex to find the 3023. So I'm assuming with a number like that, I'm not sure what the 30 is for, but the 23 probably indicates the 23 channels. Over.
Hello. Howdy. Yes, 23 channels. This one I got from Indiana. Nice gentleman, Jack, back there in Anderson, Indiana. And it's not for sale. And he repainted the whole cabinet powder, well, not powder, he powder coated it, but he painted it what he calls glacier blue. So he says if you're up there where the glaciers are and the nice blue water reflects off the glaciers, gives it a bluish tint, that's what he says his color is. So anyway, the front is the normal gray, silver and gray with the red Sonar name. But the whole cabinet's glacier blue, powder coated in. I would say it's about a 9 3/4 out of a 10, as far as that goes. Stock amplified hand mic, 13 tubes, and 23 channels, no waiting.
Wow, that has the 13 tubes, and it doesn't have sideband. So I'm curious as to what, I don't know if I got a tube complement, what that 13th tube is doing. And let me see. Let me go to the Larry Cam quickly. And I want to say there a couple of people are signing out or have signed out. I want to say hello to them. But first, let's jump in on the Larry Cam. And there you are. Boy, it's right on frequency. Wow, that's not me, that's you. That is right on frequency. And audio is good on either side. It's loud. It's very good loud audio on that one. I want to say, listening in, Diesel Girl 007, who, if possible, is going to get that T-Berry Stalker XX at the home base up and running. Yeah, we're here on 11. You get any radio and you get the conditions, we will say hello to you on a Saturday evening. So thanks for joining us, Diesel Girl 007. Checking out tonight, Pittsburgh Estate Sales is going to be working the Secure Worldwide. That keeps the bands busy. And he'll be back in 2 weeks. So thanks for joining us and staying up late as always. A lot of people liking the audio in that 3023. It is very loud. Maybe that 13th tube is the audio thing. Yeah, when I come in on frequency, I'm just right there with the same frequency. All right, back to you, Harvey. Over.
Well, there's my static. It's got a 6BQ5 final. Excuse me. 12AU6. Driver, but the modulator is a 12DH7A twin, I think, triode, and it's plate modulated, twin plate modulated. In the 2340, the 40 channel, they took that tube out and put two 6BQ5s in for modulators, and you end up with twin plate modulating tubes, but using two tubes. In this one, they used one, and it's a little hard on the tube. And this tube goes out quite often, so I've got to have a whole bunch of spares.
All right, so they fixed their thing. This is what I like about the mid to late 60s and the early 70s radios. There was really a competition between Tram and Browning and Sonar and General Radio Telephone each year to do something to make it just a little bit louder or just a little bit wider on frequency or whatever before, they had to start cutting things back because they were trying to save money because of the imports coming in. Let me go back to the picture here. And so the Sonar was notorious for the good audio. The Regency Imperial doing a similar thing with their double sideband suppressed carrier. Really an interesting and exciting time for the radios. Almost like the automobiles of the 66, 67, 68, 69. It's like, who could get the biggest engine? Who could get the Hemi? Is it the 455, the the turbocharged? What was it? So CB radio doing the same thing back in the 60s, and we are hearing it today, showing what's up. So, Harvey, it sounds good. I'm going to get my local static at any moment, so I hope it doesn't cover you up, but that radio's got the audio to cut through it. Radio number 7, the Sonar 3023, and I'm looking for a date on these. I'm going to say these are probably 66 or 67, maybe even later than that, because it still looks like a FT101. Over.
I've got two more real quick, so let me sign off with this one.
All right, I think my noise just came up, but I'm sure I will hear you with the other radios and doing some counting and amounting. The Jingle Singers are ready to do that song that they do at the end of the program. Is it ready? It is ready. We'll be back in a moment with some more radios on your old tube radio network.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us.
Old Tube Radio.
And be modern.
All right, I think that was 60 in there. Over.
Yeah, we kind of had to put a delay on it. Doggone it, this one has got that delay. I a little too quick sometimes to jump on it. 60.
Yeah, that's strange what it does. It could be just the tube is warming up to get voltage, but it gets a big signal. So that one needs It's like that, that spray bottle that you have. You have to like just a couple times before the stuff comes out, right?
I guess so, Dennis. I'd like to check this one in real quick. Like there, I know Harvey's got a couple of them there, and we'd like to check this one in real quick. This is a Johnson Messenger number 2, the blackface.
All right, we can do that. That is my assigned duty as a net control operator here at the Old Tube Radio Network, is to pick up as many radios as possible by hook or by crook, or just by sitting here, which is normally what I do. Sitting here looking stupid, waiting for the radios to come up to make me look like I'm a smart guy. Take a transmission on radio number 8.
Well, Dennis, there's no doubt about that. You being smart, cotton picker, you are smart. 10 tubes in this one, 10 channels. And got a little modulator going with it. I don't know if it helps it or not. The light seems to be glowing okay. And I'm glad that the microphone is still working. I stretched it out a little bit too far the other day. I had doubts about it, but I hope it's doing okay.
It's doing great. This is the upgrade from the 1959 version of the E.F. Johnson radio. It's called the Messenger 1, which again had very minimal controls, 5 channels, crystal controlled. This was their upgrade. They kept the simplicity on the front panel, didn't add too many knobs, but what they did do was add a few more channel selections and give you the tunable receive so that you could listen in to various other items, or maybe pick a frequency and say, I like that, and then add the transmit channels later. They also made it a mobile or base radio, and that really fit in well with the fact that you might buy 2 or 3, and you'd have your KEO 8492 base, and you'd have your Unit 1 in the Ford, and your Unit 2 in the Chevy. No one ever buys a Ford and a Chevy, right? But anyway, you would do that, and you would be good to go. It'd be set up. Yours is sounding good. It's warmed up. Take a transmission. Over.
Yeah, Dennis, she is a little bit on the warm side already. Doggone it, this radio is definitely a solid radio, and the heat runs practically even through the radio. But we enjoy the fact that we get a chance to key it up after it's had a while, warming up, and get it on the airway for sure. Okay, Dennis, I'll get on out of here and put the old 10 tubes there on standby.
All right, sounding good for radio number 8, E.F. Johnson, also another company that produced amateur radio, and at the beginning got in early on the Class D. I'm bringing up the Larry Cam. I think if I talk long enough here, which is usually not a problem for me, we'll see your key up on the transmitter, find out where you are, and there you are, right there. Starts out a little low, has a little hook coming up, and it looks like it cuts in on frequency and stays right there. Look at that audio. Holy cow, that is... I knew it was loud, but that is showing up. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 3.5, so that's like 7K of audio. There's another radio for the audio files. If you'd like to put some rack gear, is it compressors, limiters, that radio will handle it. The Johnsons could do that. The E.F. Johnson radios on the 75 meter nets are the ones that always sound good. The Vikings and the Valiants, doing a good job. So wow, I'm really impressed with the way the audio looks on that thing. Perfect. All right, thanks for radio number 8. Yeah, impressive. Now there's, if somebody wants to do some hi-fi audio, that radio proves it right there with just an amplified microphonium. All right, I think Harvey has probably got a radio for us. Over.
Oh yeah. The Golden Beagle from Browning Laboratory, R68T68, custom medallion on the back of the D104. This is my second Browning that I got years ago here in Fresno, of all places. Anyway, this is the Beagle, and when I come back, I'll have another one real quick.
All right, Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68, nicknamed the Beagle. This is the radio that was after the R27 S23. The Eagle, this is the first in the Golden Eagle series, preceded the Mark II. Never got a Mark I, I guess, or a Mark none, but the R68 for the receive unit, the T68 for the transmitter unit. Let me quickly see if we got a Larry cam on that keying up. And we go over here. There it is, pretty close to being right on frequency. Not much of a transmit spike hook. And solid transmitter right in there. Good audio. The Brownings are a little bit narrow on the audio, and that's out of choice. Notice all the energy is right in the range where the voice might be. Not a lot of extra highs, certainly not a lot of extra lows. Cuts out everything below about 200 hertz. And you can see when I come in, I've got a lot of low frequency energy, and Browning said, you know what, that's nice for, if you're talking on your FM high fidelity stereo, but if you're trying to do some DX on the amplitude modulation mode, let's put some energy where it matters in the articulation points. That's what they did, and it worked pretty well for them. All right, I probably talked enough. Let's see if we can get radio. Let's see, the Beagle. We need the Bagel. Over.
There you go. The Golden Eagle. TR68, T68. This one also has a medallion on the back of the head of the D104, although this one has the D104, let's see, a metal tag on the top, Youngstown, wherever, I can't, Youngstown, Ohio, serial number 16837. On the top there. This one has the RF gain control on the receiver and the spot right on the transmitter, while the Beagle has the on-air light and the three-position switch. Anyway, this one I call the Beagle. Why? It's good in the morning. And along with the bagel and cream cheese, I have a little bit of jelly and jam, making it have the sweet taste.
Very good. All right, there's the picture for the Bagel. Not much of a spike when it keys up. It's dead on solid when it keys down. It's got the same Browning audio where we're missing a lot of the energy below 200. I think this one shows a little bit more energy across the board. It is still the Browning narrow bandwidth, and it is a little bit lower on frequency at about 84.5, it looks like, according to the picture. But really nice, good, solid audio. And like you said, it works well in the morning. Over.
Oh, yeah. I like this one. This is my second one. And I was going to get rid of it. Excuse for the cough. But I decided against it because it is the other model. And it's got the special microphone. Okay, it's late. You've got a noise level. Talk to me in next week, just in case I don't get back.
All right, I will do. You're actually making over the noise level better tonight than usual. So either you're pumped up, you're 10.2, wall-to-wall, treetop tall, or my noise level isn't as bad, or maybe it has something to do with the wind. Hello to Cornbread. I did get, 11... and 12 checked in. I did get to Cornbread and Dapper Dan. I remembered to turn on the pumpkin. So we're doing good here on October. This is our Halloween series of radios. Look for the Magic Eye tubes. And we've got one more. We've got one more Halloween program. Chet mentioned that he talked to Espresso Trucking Company, and they will be back. The limos will be bringing them, and they should give a great performance for us once again coming up next week, along with your radios, along with whatever might be happening here on OTR. Anybody else before we sign out on the Old Tube Radio Network?
Dennis, I do have my Irish pumpkin lit in the window.
The Irish pumpkin, so there must be a 4-leaf clover on it somewhere?
No, it's the other Irish, the orange pumpkin. And it's Irish because it is Jack O'Lantern.
Oh, I never thought about that. So maybe, Halloween originated in County Cork. You never know. All right, good to know.
Well, I don't know exactly where it originated, but the Irish did celebrate it back there. And when they got here, they used to carve turnip and other items into scary little things. And when they got here, they found pumpkins here. So they started carving them. And it's, if you look it up, it's an Irish thing as far as Jack O'Lantern, based on an Irish myth, Stingy Jack. And I won't go into it because it's late. You can look it up.
And I will do, along with some other things. Sounding good. Thanks, Harvey, the Old Tube Radio Network. Let's do some counting and amounting and get out of here. Thanks to those who are staying up late with us tonight. If you couldn't, hopefully you will be able to catch us on the replay or the audio archive. Still with us at Old Tube Radio Net Control. Nelson, Inez, Kentucky. Van Man is in there. Hello to San Bernardino. Hello to Fresno, San Marcos, somewhere around Moraga, California. Bowling Green, Kentucky. Hermosa Beach, I know where that is. Derby, New York, in there as well. I've got to have the drum roll. I cannot do the totals here.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
Thank you, Rich, Mr. Announcer, for well over 30 years here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Tonight we had 69 shortwave listeners checking in, 16 on page 1, 17 on page 2, 14 on page 2, 14 on page 3, 22 on page 4, and we are at the 8-week roster this time, so we will be doing the 00 next week, and I think I'll have some, for those of you who might want to get on the list, you don't need to be on the list, of course, but I think I might have some numbers available. I'll have to see, because what we do is we ask if you're on the SWL list, you at least check in once, I don't know, in 8 weeks. Otherwise, we can reassign the numbers. Because we don't have a finite amount of numbers. We will be signing on Monday and going off on Saturday to check in the listeners. But that's okay. I wouldn't mind doing that. But they only give us 2 hours. So we have to be super efficient. Radios tonight, we did make it double digits, 10 radios. The Brownings looked like the most heard manufacturer, but we did we got a great history lesson tonight with a lot of radios from 1959 when CB Radio Class D was in its infancy, and a good description and pictures of what it was like. The radios were simple. They were supposed to be, because that's what Class D was. It wasn't hobby communications. You didn't need to take a test for the license, and it was a way to get two-way radio on the air long before cell phones, right? So this was the way to do it, and it cost you, well, if you're only buying one radio, which you weren't supposed to do, so you were supposed to have two radios, so you were well into at least $300 plus the antennas. So it was an expensive proposition, probably $400, $419.59 to get a good two-way setup with the base antenna and the coax and the mobile antennas, and you were good to go and right in the middle of, what was it, to cycle 19, 22, the one where it was the best solar cycle that they've registered for as long as they have been registering cycles, and you could use 5 watts and talk anywhere. And what happened was people realized that, and they did. And it's like, well, this is pretty neat. So at least for the FCC, I think that's why CB got off to a bad start when people said, well, why am I just going to talk to the guy across the street? This is fun. And it's still fun right here. 2022, thanks to you. Radios tonight, the Gonset G11 with a 6 ME5 Magic iTube. Thanks, Cliff, for that. Radio number 2, the General Radio Telephone Super MC12, the last of the General Radio Telephones, not type accepted, super rare. Thanks, Paul, for that. The Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV, the last of the Brownings. Thanks, Sean, for that. Sounding pretty darn good. The Hallicrafters CB1 from 1959, putting the little phones on the map for Class D 11 meter citizen band radio service. The Cobra, who did that? Harvey. Thanks, Harvey, for that. Sean and Sanger bringing by the Cobra Cam 88. Back when the radio wars, try who can be the loudest. Cam Cobra B&K was right in there, getting their audio, trying to sound like the Sonars, the Trams, the Brownings. It was all good. Radio number 6, Joe on the Hustler, the World Radio Lab Hustler. Another innovation is like, well, you know what? These radios are in the house. They're not in some Radio Shack shop. They're on the kitchen table. They're under the doily in the living room. So let's make them blue. Let's make them look good, because they're not just for the guys. They're for the gals. I remember hearing a lot of back in when I was on CB radio. A lot of the ladies getting on and talk, which you don't even hear. You don't even hear that on amateur radio. There was definitely more women back when I was starting my CB career chatting on the radios than there are now. So they had some radios that would look good. Put them in the house. It doesn't look like some piece of test gear. It looks like it's something that should be there. Let's go to... I timed out. Let's go to radio number 7. That was a Sonar 3023 from Harvey. Thanks for that. Joe came by with the E.F. Johnson Messenger TWO. Always a good radio for E.F. Johnson. Built like a tank. Still works great. And then the 2 Brownings, the Golden Eagles R68 T68, the Beagle, and the Bagel. In that order. Thanks for joining us. This is the Old Tube Radio Network. We do this every Saturday. Thanks to your participation and your radios. There are other such venues. Old Radio Night is one of them with JT, and I'm sure you might have something in your area. If you don't, think about getting on. 1 or 2 radios makes a good conversation. It makes it a better conversation than just one radio. If you're studying for, speaking of radio, if you're studying for your amateur radio license, or maybe you're upgrading from technician, keep going. There's a lot of VECs, VE programs where you can do that. The bands are getting great. We're in cycle 25, and it's getting better. Love to talk to you on some frequencies. When 11 meters is up and roaring and you can't even talk to your neighbor, you can switch up to 10 meter sideband or maybe AM, and you'll have a great time. It's easy to build an antenna with a piece of wire. Get down on 40 meters or 20 meters. Have some fun, right? Just what you are supposed to do on the two-way radio. Good night, everybody, from your Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for joining us in 73.
Good night, Dennis.
All right, it is time for some Ovaltine, no doubt.
You're right.
Okay, and it's noisy. Do we want to check out some other frequencies here? Just because we got a minute. A second. But I think the bands are not good. There's 20 meters. FT8 just barely coming in. How's 40 meters doing? How are we doing on 40 meters tonight? Nothing. How about 75?
K7UI. NTT, not talking trash.
Guys at 3900 are up and running.
Well, that's the new one on me. Thank you.
Hear the kind of the phase distortion on the audio.
It was real popular, Ray. I'm really pleased with it. It sounds good. The quality of receivers is excellent, and I just enjoy hearing the sound coming out of
75 and a half.
It just seems good.
Don't hear any of the AM carriers where I should hear them. Band sounds like it's long tonight. And no big signals. You know, there's not a contest. I think it's a CQ worldwide. So I bet we'll have a lot of contesters next weekend.
Either time.
Good stuff. All right, good night, everybody, from your old Tube Radio Network.
Not too long ago, the suffix was 8.
There's the one of the swap
I had
guys
to bite my tongue, bite
at
my lip
7240. Is that Dennis?
to not open my big mouth.
Gotta be running.
YFB, you can say it in any way you want.
Gotta be running full legal limit tonight. All right, good night, everybody, from the old Tube Radio Network.
Yankee Sierra Delta.
YFB.
Frank,
starts with U. Then the F. And then the B.
You Foxy Babe.